Good afternoon, church, and welcome to the Rewind. This is the second week that we have been doing the video rewinds, and it's also the second week of our new worship series that we've entitled Big. We are talking about the blueprint to getting big. We're using Joshua as that blueprint. We're talking about big life, big courage, big faith, big problems, big moments, ultimately leading to some very big breakthroughs in your life and in mine and in our life together as a church. We started the conversation off yesterday talking about fears, and we highlighted some of the fears that we go through and deal with in life. Some people were talking about roller coasters, other people were talking about snakes. When I pulled up the YouVersion live event and took a look at, and let me just encourage you, if you haven't been a part of the live events that go on, I want to encourage you to dial in. It's just another layer of conversation that happens on Sundays. And as I was looking over the live event, I was looking at some of the things that we were discussing that people had fears over. Some people were talking about heights. Other people were talking about tight, closed, confined spaces. There was mentioning of allowing someone to really know them at the deepest level. Other people were afraid of mall Santa Clauses. Other folks were afraid of being unhealthy, and I didn't know if they were referring to being physically unhealthy or being spiritually unhealthy, but nonetheless that fear was there. There were some other mentions of things happening to their kids and being fearful over the lives and interactions of their kids. So it was very interesting. I encourage you to be a part of that, but we countered all of that fear talk with the Stephen Adair. Yes, sir. How are you?
Oh, hey, is this going to be on the internet?
Yes, sir.
Do I look alright?
You look good.
Oh, good. So I was just wondering, is this where you do your little?
Yeah, I was just about to do that. I was gonna say something like this. You know, we countered all the fear talk with the talk of courage and all of that out of Joshua chapter 1.
And then you do the.
And then I do the.
All right, well, can I do it?
Yes, sir. You can do it.
All right.
So our first merge from Sunday said this: leadership without courage will lead you nowhere. If you remember from week 1, we talked about how the story moves forward. Life moves forward. Inherently, we will encounter a problem or a fear in some part of that journey. We must be leaders and people who are equipped with a spirit of strength and courage. The first thing that God says to Joshua is, be strong and be courageous. You're going to encounter some problems along the way, but be strong and courageous. And I don't know what problems you're encountering in your life this week, whether those are problems at home or at work or at school or in a relationship or in some other area of life, or maybe it's a faith problem that you're dealing with. But God is saying to you and I, just as He said to Joshua, be strong and be courageous, because the only way that we will be able to move forward in our stories, individually and our story as a church, is to be equipped with the strength and the courage that only comes from God. Leadership without courage will lead you nowhere. Fear, it is a feeling. It's an emotional response that comes on us at certain times. What provokes it can be as varied as the feeling of fear itself, but it's a feeling. And the way in which you overcome the feeling of fear is by making the choice to be courageous. It's not like God is telling Joshua to do something that he possibly can't do. He's telling him to make the choice to be strong and be courageous. And the way we move fear out of our lives to where we're overcoming fear rather than fear overcoming us is by making the choice to be strong and be courageous. Not only does he say over and over in Joshua chapter 1, be strong and courageous, but he also says in Joshua chapter 1, and don't forget, I am with you always. I will always be with you. Everywhere you go, I'm going to be right there giving you that spot. That's what allows us to make the choice of courage and overcome the fear rather than allowing the feeling of fear to overcome us in our lives. God is with us in this moment and every moment throughout our day, our week, our month, and our year. We are never apart from God. So in order to develop courage in our lives, there are certain things that we need to do. And there are certain things that God told Joshua that he needed to do as well, and that was what made up the third merge that we talked about on Sunday. 3 ways that we can develop this courage that comes from God. We can develop that so that it overtakes our heart, our mind, our spirit, our body, and our faith to help us move forward. Here's the first thing that we need to do. We need to follow courageous examples. God tells Joshua, follow the example of Moses, what you've seen, what you've listened to, what you've heard from him. Follow that example as you now become the leader and move forward. So who is it in your life that provides you with an example of faith? What testimony and witness have you received from someone else that can inspire courage inside of you to move forward, to be courageous in the moment, whether it's a moment of relationship or a moment of faith, a moment at work or a moment in school? Follow the examples of courageous people whom God has placed in your life. The second thing we talked about in developing courage is to get in the Word and stay in the Word. Meditate on it, think about it, pray about it, live it out every single moment. Become a doer of what it is that God is saying to us. And that's the same direction that he gives to Joshua. I want you to meditate on it. I want you to think about it. Never let the law depart from your mouth. Get in the Word and stay in the Word. And then that third way to develop courage in our life is to trust God. Trust God at home, trust God at work, trust God at school, trust God in the relationship, trust God in all of the fearful things that might be trying to creep in on our lives, and let the power and the promise of God help you overcome those. So there you have it, church. That is the rewind for the week of January the 15th. I hope you have a blessed rest of the day, and may you live the rest of this week strong and courageous. See you soon, church.
Oh man, was that it?
That's it.
Well, I was just sitting in there reading my preacher's commentaries, and you did that in like less than 6 minutes. Why can't you preach that short, Russell?